excited about this next session, Maximizing Business Growth through NaaS Federation and Marketplaces. And I'd like to ask the speakers to come on out. We have Colin Bannon, CTO for BT Business, Daniele Mancuso, Chief Marketing and Product Management from Sparkle, Daniel Bar-Lev, Chief Product Officer from MEF, and Frank Morales, Senior VP Marketing and Business Development from Orange Wholesale International. Welcome, gentlemen. So I'd like to start us off by just asking each of the service providers to introduce the role that they have in NaaS, right? And kind of provide us an overview of where your company is with NaaS right now. So Colin, would you like to start us out?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I think NaaS for us is probably on 3 levels. It's not just one thing. And I think as an industry, we're converging that a little bit. I think at the optical layer, there is a network as a service. You're seeing a lot of interest around that, particularly around AI. And there's some brilliant examples of people who've been here talking about it this week. At the next layer up is really where we're super doubling down is how do you re-envision your entire connectivity portfolio? And for BT, as the CTO for business side of our business, is serving enterprises in over 180 countries around the world. And it is a big portfolio, and it's a really complex portfolio, but they were built in a time where they were sort of inorganically stovepiped over the years. And NaaS to BT in this layer is about simplification and digitalization, as well as all the attendant benefits for customers as well. And then the final one was our mobile friends in the GSMA who stole the word NaaS and tried to reappropriate it for network monetization and Chimera event and things like that as well. So there's kind of a couple of NaaS terms in the market, and if you look at the, if we look at the amount of press page written about NaaS, a lot of it will be driven by our friends, our colleagues, which we are part of, the Chimera Alliance with the GSMA. You'll hear a lot of press about that part, though often that's as much about monetization of the network and finding use cases. For us, for here today, I'll be speaking mostly about that middle layer, which is huge heavy lifting for BT right now.
Yeah, excellent, very good.
So, good morning, everybody. From Sparkle's perspective, we like to envision NaaS as a transformative enabler of the digital economy. An enabler that is designed, or better say, redesigned by MEF, because for us, the strong definition is the one prescribed by MEF. Designed to address the growing demand for an agile, adaptable, secure, high-performance connectivity in a world that is becoming increasingly connected, increasingly data-driven, and increasingly supported by artificial intelligence. Of course, it's not just about connectivity. It's about answering to a business application need of an end customer, and therefore is putting in place a number of actions that span well beyond our own network and encompassing the engagement of different partners at every layer of the supply chain to provide a comprehensive answer to this business application need. That's the way we see it.
Excellent. Frank?
What to say after Colin and Daniele? Hi, everyone. So, no, I think there are several answers. First of all, it's a journey. I think we all agree on that, and a lot of panels and presentations said that. This journey has started few years ago, and what definitely I can see is we have moved forward on building and continuing building all this capacity, as you mentioned, Daniele, of being able to support the digital economy. Because at the end of the day, it's what we are doing, all of us in the room, to make sure that the digital economy can be successful. Without us, and without all our partners in this digital economy value chain, it will not happen. So we have moved forward, starting from, of course, the connectivity side, the pure connectivity, then moving to SD-WAN, then moving to SASE, and today all this is NaaS. And we have been able, on that journey, to say, and I think it's maybe the time we are 1 week from a big event here in America, and quoting my CTO, Jean-Louis Leroux, he did an intervention 2 weeks ago saying, let's make the network shining again. you understand.
We understand.
And so what has been done is a complete transformation, I think as you mentioned, Colin, is what are the 10 pillars of this NaaS journey in the backstage? Because if you don't have the backstage, and I think we were saying that just before, if you're starting to automate shitty things, at the end of the day, you have automated shitty things. So we have these 10 pillars, which are first the 4 pillars of our infrastructure, the layer 1, the transmission, the backbone, and making it simple and simple, trying to have an IP backbone, a big one, a clear separation between underlay and overlay with our telco cloud, SDN POPs, you name it, and the flexible overlay on top of that for the services. And all this, of course, with API everywhere, because if you want to separate your infrastructure, you need also to make it connected between each layer. So API everywhere. 6th pillar is automated with more and more AI, because of course it's where AI is making sense in optimizing the automation. Orchestration layer, the 7th one. And then comes where it makes sense to be there all together. The third party is where you're starting the federation with API. And you can see the presentation, it was at NetworkX, and you can see in the presentation it's clearly stated, is business API, MEF. And then, of course, the other business API is the interface with customers. So API for customers, portal for customers. And with that, we are able then, with these single fabrics, very modernized, to move forward on NaaS. On the B2B side, as Usman mentioned yesterday, Usman is our Chief Product Officer for B2B, with our Evolution platform brand for NaaS, and on the wholesale side, where I'm standing now, with Click that we have announced a few weeks ago at Capacity Europe. The same fabric, transforming the fabric, we are able to deliver NaaS and hopefully to contribute to the success of the digital economy.
I believe I saw your video when you released that a few, what'd you say, a couple of weeks ago, the network as a service vision for the wholesale side?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Daniel, Chief Product Officer, you've got a lot of angles on the NaaS work. Can you kind of share the top ones that you're things you're working on?
Yeah. So what we do at MEF essentially is we enable our members to reach consensus. That's really why we're here. Everybody has a different point of view, but there's commonality that they want at a number of levels, and we're here to help make that happen. And it might be a definition of what something is, like we said, carrier Ethernet, 20 years ago. We helped our members reach consensus and create standards, which are basically documents that capture that consensus. Another level is APIs. We want to interoperate out of the box. Well, let's reach consensus about what those APIs should look like. And we're doing the same thing now. People are talking about NaaS, but they really need agreement on terminology.
Yes.
They need consensus on terminology. We're not prescribing that terminology, but we're helping them talk about the same thing so that they can get to the real discussion. And we're seeing more and more new terms, new concepts coming into the discussion, and we want to make sure that we can agree what we're talking about, and then we can move on. And we're seeing this very clearly now with NaaS. What is NaaS? What is the NaaS customer experience? What should customers expect to get? What are the components of NaaS? So we've got the customer experience white paper, we've got the NaaS blueprint, and we've got what is NaaS Federation? Should we have NaaS Federation? What do you mean by NaaS Federation? And all of these concepts that we're helping everybody agree on. So what are the top ones? I think the top ones right now are, what do you mean by NaaS? There's a tendency always at the beginning of the hype cycle to wash the market with a new term. So NaaS washing, we want to avoid that. What do you think should be in NaaS? What do you think your customers are looking for? Those are the things that we're really focusing on. But last but not least, the ability of different NaaS players to work together in order to complete an offering, to offer something more. Everybody needs partners. Everybody uses vendors. Everybody works with connectivity partners. Everybody works with cybersecurity partners. So helping them understand how they can work with those partners in a NaaS ecosystem to create supply chains that are effective.
Excellent. So Daniel, you mentioned NaaS in the hype cycle. If I think about the hype cycle that Gartner puts together, you'd think about, NaaS was introduced more than a decade ago, right? So it's already gone through the hype cycle, come down the other side, and now it's like version 2 is going up, right? And so, one of the purposes of the blueprint, well, actually the 3 goals of the blueprint were to align the industry on a common vision for NaaS, to provide a guide for service providers and their partners to develop, deliver, and manage NaaS services across an automated ecosystem, and then to highlight areas where we need to collaborate to help drive market opportunities. But if we get to that first one, driving the common vision for NaaS, where do you see things now? Do you feel like we're making progress on a common definition of NaaS? I mean, yesterday we heard quite a few different views, everything from a consumption model to something more complex. But overall, do you think that we are making progress on that front? Daniele, you want to start us out, and then maybe everybody else share that?
Well, let me say, participating to the meetings of the board of directors with the TAB and the Enterprise Leadership Council, I think that we are converging to what NaaS is and to what NaaS is not. There are, of course, different opinions, but first of all, I believe that the new blueprint that has been released is an extraordinary piece of work because it's extremely clear, extremely defining what are the MEF assets that combined together are building this NaaS and this NaaS experience that the customer expects from us. There are, as in any discussion and in any forum, there are extreme approaches. Yes, yesterday we heard NaaS is just about the consumption model. Well, I totally disagree with that. NaaS, first of all, is, as I think we all agree, is a concrete answer to a business application need. Now, this business application need encompasses a number of components that need to be carefully orchestrated in order to clearly respond to this business need of the customer. And therefore, you need to put together a number of assets, MEF-certified assets. You need to have clear APIs to define what are the interfaces between the endpoints and in the intermediate supply chain. You need to have a full automation because, again, we are not talking anymore about quoting and ordering of a carrier Ethernet services, whereby it is okay that you complete the ordering phase in 2 minutes and then you still deliver in 45 days. This is not the NaaS experience. So when you have the east-west automation clearly completed and understood, the north-south become once again critical, because everything should work like a musical orchestra, really. When we talk about consumption, well, for me it's not pure consumption, it's not dogma. I don't believe that there can be a business case working just on consumption. And I can bring you the experience that we are doing with the newly launched Sparkle QSI, the Quantum Safe over Internet. This is our first NaaS product. Today we run it in a pre-order with a pure subscription model. So there is basically, to be concrete, there is one unique VNF that runs both the connectivity and the security components. In 2025, we are going to break the two components. So when the customer orders the service, he will be able to order the connectivity component and the security component. The connectivity component will have a certain subscription model, and the customer commits to order a 500 meg for 12 months. This is not consumption, this is subscription. The same for the basic security component. So the customer is able to order an IPsec tunnel and to instantiate it on top of the connectivity. So you have two VNFs that are running on the same universal CPEs and that are having a basic subscription model. During the 12 months period, the customer is free to increase the bandwidth for the time that he needs. And that is the consumption-based model. Call it a burstable, call it whatever you want, but the customer is having the full freedom to pay for what is consuming above the subscription. And the same is on the security part. On top of the IPsec VPN, the customer can decide that for a specific period of time, he wants to increase the protection level. So he will instantiate the quantum safe, and he will pay the increased rate only for the period that the quantum safe is active. So again, NaaS is a combination of many things. It's not just a consumption model, but it's a totally digital experience in front of the end customer.
Okay, that's an excellent example. So combination, we heard the word modular earlier today.
Flexibility.
A few times. And so Daniel, I wanted to ask you, we're talking about this idea of the emerging federation. Maybe if you could tell us how you view a federation, and then we can kind of move on to the others to share your thoughts about how you might participate.
Right. So at a very high level, the paradigm that we envisage is that we have a NaaS ecosystem, or multiple NaaS ecosystems, where players want to participate together to create NaaS offerings. And those NaaS ecosystems basically need supply chains. As a NaaS provider, you're going to be creating supply chains with partners that you trust. And that's where the NaaS Federation comes in. You can think of NaaS Federation as equal players that are buying and selling from each other on the basis of trust to form supply chains. And trust is a very, very central element here. You know, for many decades, companies are doing business with each other, but they've built that trust up in let's call it a legacy way, the old-fashioned way, which is good. But when you're creating NaaS offerings where you have to do it very, very quickly with many partners to create very complex products, you need a mechanism that's scalable to trust others. Who can participate in your supply chain? How do you identify them? How do you verify that they are who they are, that the products that they're providing you meet the requirements, whether they're regulatory or others? So the NaaS Federation is the first attempt to create those groups of companies that are working together, that over which supply chains can be created on demand. And we're already seeing in the discussion earlier this week, what is a NaaS federation? What does federated mean? Is it federation of resources and so on and so forth? there's a lot to discuss behind that, but I think just if we look at these three examples here of BT, Sparkle, and Orange, everybody has a clear vision of where they want to take NaaS. It may be the same, it may not be the same, but they're going to be working together. They're going to be not only interoperating, but they're going to be buying and selling from each other in a very intimate way. And their partners are going to be pulled into that as well. So we have to find the framework where they can understand who they can do business with, and that's what the NaaS Federation concept is about.
So,
if we take from what Daniel just said about this story of supply chain, in fact, we tried to make it a story of supply chain because it's what it is at the end of the day.
Yes.
But it's where maybe the NaaS definition or the NaaS perception or whatsoever is different, because at the end of the day, it's depending on the customer, because all this is to create the digital supply chain of our customers' business, digital business. So they are not doing, depending on the industry, depending on their culture, depending on their size, they are not all doing their digital business the same way. So we need to adapt to each of them. So it's a reason one sometimes it's 100% consumption model. I'm sure it is not. I do agree with you. It's so hard to say that I agree with you, but it's okay.
It's awful.
It's awful. But it's where the definition and the perception could be different, because we have lots of different customers. And what we try to achieve finally is to, again, make their digital business a success, and it's where we need composability. It's where we need to do adaptation, and it's where, of course, we need to think, and it's where trust, again, is important about flowing their data.
Standardization is important.
Yeah, and trust on their data, because it's where it's very important, just to add on that.
thank you, Frank. Colin, what's your thought about the Federation and how BT could play in that?
Well, two things real quick. One is I can really, from the NaaS side, only speak about what we're doing. I think two things that we're seeing in the market is there's a group of very clever people in various service providers who are putting intelligent head ends and digital transformation on top of their legacy networks. Mm-hmm. And then there's people who love the pain, like myself, who are taking ELAN, E-line, internet, MPLS, DDoS, service insertion, access, and collapsing all of those systems down and re-platforming and re-hardwaring and moving to different physical locations closer to the cloud for our entire network. So it's a massive behind-the-scenes network transformation in all around the world. Now, where it gets really interesting, so that is our internal story. And that's going to be the platform that'll take us for the next 15, 20 years to build on. All of us are in different end of service life cycles. So we got to ours, we're in the real thick of it. Unfortunately, a couple of years back, our board decided to lean in and really not do what telcos normally do, which is just repeat the old features on the re-platform, but actually spend some time on reimagining what it's going to be like, because challenges are coming. So that is one. But in terms of the Federation, trust resonates a huge amount, I think, across all of us, because what we're in the business of is delivering outcomes for our customers. And our customers often are very large multinationals who have very large global reach, and they have significant needs to be delivered on their outcomes. And there is no plan B for network connectivity to their operational processes. Right. Yeah, the network, there was an analyst who said a few weeks back, the network is like glass, right? It's transparent, nobody sees it, right, generally, until it breaks, and then everybody knows about it. And so the trust is about delivering the operational resilience and the outcomes for the business processes of our customers. There's no plan B, and we are very, very aware of the souls that were responsible on planes, the hospitals, the emergency services, the nation states, securing, being the national champions. There's a huge responsibility that we have. Now, where federation comes in is to where we may not have the reach, or we are buying from each other for parts, because if I'm in 180 countries, I don't have access circuits to every house in all those 180 countries. But we still need to have a trust-based and an outcome-based. I want my product experience to continue, because we'll all do different things to differentiate. But there needs to be a basic level of trust and product experience that I can continue, and so that we become transparent for each other, for our customers' journey when they go across each other. And that's where federation becomes essential for us to lean in, to be able to start to integrate with each other, to deliver those brilliant outcomes for our customers.
Yeah.
It's extremely interesting, as trust is a multidimensional element. You see the operational perspective that Colin brings. You see the transactional perspective that Daniel was mentioning. I believe that one of the elements of the federation is to bring visibility everywhere, at every part, because many times we buy from a number of partners, but we are essentially blind of what happens on the other side of the border. And this is happening from the customer perspective. The customer is frustrated because the customer buys from me, I buy from Colin, Colin buys from Frank. There is a chain of events. The customer is totally blind. The customer relies on tickets. So in a federation, visibility, trust, and all the technological advances, for example, such as the specific API that is being developed by the ELC for informing back of what's happening in a parent network, this is essential. So all those elements constitutes the federation, and all those elements are pieces of the NaaS experience that we want to give the customer.
If I could just add to that, if we take it up a level and we think basically we're in the business of data in motion, right? We're constantly making sure that data moves where it should, when it should.
When it should.
But data rests as well. And who had access to that data? And what did they do with it, and so on? And if we take it up a level and we see that NaaS is really, we're part of this data in motion, data in rest digital world, and that visibility is very, very important.
Yeah, and if I may, I'll just add one more thing. Where we kind of got to was driven by customer outcomes, was the narrative. You know, we talk about narratives. The last five or 6 years, often driven by our brilliant vendor partners, was you don't really need to worry about the underlay, right? It's not important to customer outcomes. Just get an overlay and abstract, and we'll solve everything. So, but buy this double the size of the CPE that you had last time, and don't worry. Now, the reality that we've found, and a lot of the things that I've been driven from to transform the network have been driven from ambition and innovation and revenue, but also some of it has been driven by pain.
Yeah.
And the reality of that pain is, for sitting on those bridges with the customers operationally on a Monday morning, we know for sure that an overlay does not solve for all the problem statements.
Definitely.
And so what we've realized, and I think this is the sort of move back to the NaaS, is making the underlay sexy again, and getting the mojo back for that, because the importance, people are realizing, the hype cycle went, everybody sort of gaslighted the fact that you needed an underlay that was deterministic end-to-end, and now it's come back. So if you speak to enterprises and customers now, they're looking for outcomes of a quality overlay, but also a quality underlay, and the importance of the underlay has come back. And therefore, you can't get away with the black box or the invisible spots on the underlay now, from a fault domain isolation or from a customer operational resilience outcome, from an assurance outcome. It's super important to have a quality underlay that is federated, that is passing that visibility back forward, and the trust is extended, as well as whatever other overlays, whether it be SASE or SD-WAN or whatever, together, then you get far better outcomes than just trying to do it over the top.
Yeah, very, very well said. I really think it was fantastic for Daniel, for you to highlight the trust and for you all to comment on that. Daniele, I was going to say that I was going to actually go in that direction with perhaps an end-to-end SLA at some point across the NaaS ecosystem.
Yes. End-to-end SLA that is guaranteed by the work that we are doing in the Commercial Business Committee through the digital contract, ITN, blockchain.
Yeah.
Again, NaaS is a collection of assets, a collection of MEF assets that are enabling this kind of experience and solving all the pain points that Colin was mentioning at every layer.
Yeah, and Colin, you drove the point home, I think, which was made yesterday very clearly with the massive demand around the Gen AI infrastructure.
Yes.
I mean, that's just extraordinary, the opportunity there.
Exactly.
Any closing thoughts from you all? If not,
Vision?
we'll wrap it up.
Vision.
Thank you very much.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
We are over time.